Our first order of business is to swear in our newly elected Board of Selectmen. You could raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, your duties as Board of Selectmen members to the best of your ability? So help you God.
Yes.
I do. Congratulations.
Thank you. Good evening, Brookfield. Most of you I know already. My name is Tara Carr, and I am your new first selectman. I have with me tonight my two selectmen on the board, Harry Shaker and Steve Dunn. We'll move on to the first item of business, and that is that I'd like to make a motion to nominate Harry Shaker as chairman pro tempore.
I second.
Thank you. So, all in favor? I guess that would be the two of us.
Yep.
The next item is to make a motion that the selectmen adopt Robert's Rules of Standard Parliamentary Procedures. Can I get a second on that?
I think Harry would do that.
Yeah, I'll
just
second
made
that.
him chairman.
Oh, okay, thank you. Harry?
I'll second it.
So the two of us move on with that. And the next item is a recommendation that the selectmen approve the liaison assignments as discussed and that are on the attachment.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. We want to just take a look at the list for a moment. I have two changes that I'd like to make.
I made the motion. You need a second and then approve it.
Oh, okay. You made the motion?
I made the motion that we do the assignments. I just
Oh,
made that.
I see.
Now you want to ask for a second?
Can I get a second?
I'll second
All in favor?
All in favor?
it. Aye.
But don't we have to discuss it first?
You have to do for each of these. So you want to make a motion that the selectmen adopt Robert's Rules of Order?
Okay, so are we going to discuss that?
I don't
And
need to discuss it.
Is there any room for discussion on Robert's rules?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And moving along again for a motion to approve the liaison assignments.
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that. I don't have any discussion of this one.
I have two changes that I'd like to make to the list. So I'd like to move the Board of Ed up to the responsibility of Harry, as well as the RBAC to Harry.
I'm fine with
Super. All in favor of the list? Aye. 3-0 on that. And the next item would be for a motion that the selectmen adopt the 2022 selectmen meeting schedule.
I'll second that motion.
Great. Is everybody good with the calendar for 2022?
Yeah, I don't have any question.
I'm fine with that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving along, I believe we have a presentation. Oh, I'm sorry, I did want to mention, as a heads up, just an additional note that at the end of the meeting, I'd like to have a motion for an executive session to add on to tonight's meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
And Mr. Malowitz, I believe you're presenting for us tonight? Great.
This is Nelson Mellis of 1 Great Heron Lane. This is an update on the WPCA. And a couple things. We made some infrastructure improvements with an upgrade on the 133 station across from the Lutheran Church. And there was a pretty substantial upgrade there in order to handle future flows. The pumps were cycling badly, so we changed things around so it doesn't happen. So there was some digging and activity there, and it's not quite done yet. We're waiting on a generator like a lot of people. And anyway, that should be done early 2022, I would think. Another thing is that we have a system designed for the Brookfield market area. This is 9 properties on the other side of the tracks, or other side of the river, as it were, in the town center district that have some environmental health and safety challenges. So we have the system designed. We're getting the final costs estimates in. But that should be ready to go out to bid this month. But the project will be waiting on the acceptance by the Board of Selectmen for an ARPA grant. So we'll need that in order to be able to vote the vote. Then there's a issue of sewer capacity. And so we're a little bit short with what we can send to Danbury. As of probably sometime next year, Danbury's been uncommunicative as to what they'll let us do. But in Brookfield, the sewers were originally intended for commercial use. That was up and down Federal Road, and we had to make a decision, and that was fine. We had to make a decision in 2016 as to what to accept because Danbury was reducing their plant capacity, and so we accepted a reduction from 500,000 gallons a day to 380,000 gallons a day. But since then, we've had a lot of incentive and affordable housing come subsequently. That's added a lot of flow. So that was a game changer. And then we also did a fairly big study on the peninsula of Lake Candlewood with four communities there. And that turned out to demonstrate clearly that there's an environmental health and safety issue out there, particularly with the drinking water and contamination of the lake. Also, at the same time, we did studies on Dean and Pocono Road, which is a low-lying areas of relatively small houses along the Still River, with clear evidence of contamination into the Still River. And so, for both the Candlewood Peninsula and the Dean Road project, we recently got an award from the state for a $1.5 million study, and by the Connecticut DEEP. And so we're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's on that with an agreement with our engineers as to what the work task is going to be in order to make that happen. But part of that study is to review the options to address the sewer capacity issues. So, in other words, we capture the flow from the peninsula, we've got to do something with it. So that's part of the study. And then both the lake and, yeah, okay. So this environmental issue had keen interest in the state. There's a whole commission or not commission, but Friends of Lakes in Connecticut, a whole sort of group with interest in lakes. And we did a symposium with WestCon, the Department of Biology, on what was happening at Lake Candle, where there was keen interest. And so anyway, it's got some interest in the state, and the state seems to be willing to sponsor it. The $1.5 million grant would be then followed up with a request for a 20% grant to sewer the peninsula, and the other projects would come to about $30 million, and then that would be paid for by those sewer customers ultimately with a long-term bond. So then, but we're faced with this, we're proposing a sewer moratorium until we work out what the capacity, work out where to put the waste. And so some of the options are to treat or to get more allowance from Danbury, either first permanent, and that would be the first choice, have a permanent of maybe 700,000 or 800,000 gallons a day. And the second one would even be a temporary allowance in order to give us time to work out an in-Brookfield solution. So those are two possibilities. Another one is to purchase capacity from Bethel. A developer in Bethel said, I'll give up some of Bethel capacity to come into Danbury. So that was a new wrinkle I heard today. So anyway, there's really high interest amongst developers to do something. And they offered to put together a dream team to see what we couldn't do to solve the problem of these developers. So that's in play. And then, so we could perhaps get some capacity from Bethel to from the plant, either permanent or temporary, until we work out a Brookfield solution. Another option is to simply pump to Bethel, which is probably the least attractive. Another one is to pump to New Milford. They have quite a bit of capacity there, but it's a long way. and then for Brookfield to build its own waste treatment system, and there's interesting properties up in the north area, on Federal Road, left and right, and the way that could be done. So, the whole deal with Danbury, is really a leadership issue, it's mayor to mayor, as it were, discussion in order to make that happen. Because the mayor of Danbury is really head of their sewer commission. He's the WPCA director. And, so that's really, historically, that's what's been, and then, but at this point, we have to do some sort of, deal with, the new mayor of Danbury in order to make that happen. So that's just an update, in terms of where we stand on different issues. And, I know there's some, angst, of course, with developers, and then it plays with all of the, land use teams here in Town Hall as to what we can and can't do. So, okay, any questions?
Thank you, Nelson. That was a lot of information. Very informative. Do you gentlemen have any questions or items for discussion?
No, I don't.
No, I'm all set though.
I actually do have a few questions, Nelson. Sorry to have you go back to your seat. Just real quick, I have one on each area. For the Brookfield Market area, it's ready to go out to bid in December, so that will be happening this month.
Yeah, it could. We could go out for bid. Usually when you go out for bid, you say that, we don't necessarily have to accept the bids. So we could go out for bid, find out what the bids are, then instead of having a cost estimate, we'll know what the real number is, because you don't have the real number until you get the bid. And, but it's not gonna go forward unless the ARPA funds come through.
So what's the plan B if the ARPA doesn't go through?
We wait another 15 years until something else happens. You know, I mean, this program has been, since about '96, they've been proposing sewering in the Brookfield market area. And then there was another try about 2005-ish or so, 4 or 5, and that didn't go anywhere either, just because it was too expensive for the 9 properties to pick up. And so this is the first chance there's a real live option, because the ARPA funds, they're for COVID relief on one hand, and then there's a whole section of the ARPA funds where they'll allow for infrastructure improvements,
Right.
particularly water, sewer, and broadband. Well, water is taken care of with Aquarian here. Broadband, a lot of private companies take care of that. But sewer is municipal, that's us. And so, so the ask is for some of the $5 million to go to this sewering the Brookfield market area, because it's kind of important area of the town. It's right in it's in the center, and the craft center's a historical place of some notoriety is not the right word, some fame around the country, actually. And so this is one area that would be a pretty good investment for Brookfield.
So right now, typically, we do not assess anyone more than 10% of their property value. That's been shown through the courts to be a reasonable assessment that usually will not be contested by or won by.
The law
those
is that
being
you
assessed.
can't assess more than the increase in the value of the property because it has municipal sewers.
Right, which usually works out to about 10%.
That's exactly right.
So if you don't get the it's still 800,000 right now, is your
Well, we're
estimate?
trying to knock it down, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was sticker shock, so,
So without some assistance from somewhere,
yes.
it's gonna be very hard to put this in and assess the property owners.
Yeah, it probably, any court challenge, you probably wouldn't win it. 'Cause, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Nelson, was there a grant, was there a grant involved anywhere with that program available? I thought I had heard that there may
You
be
mean for the
about,
Brookfield market area?
Yeah.
No.
okay.
Regarding the sewer capacity, moving on to the lake, I'm sorry, Nelson, I do have
Sure.
one question in each area. Just to be clear, what will the repercussions be if we don't address the Lake Candlewood situation?
Okay, it was in 2019, I gotta tell a story here. In 2019, the largest lake in New Jersey failed because all the septic was going in there, and then you couldn't put your toe in the water, they wouldn't allow you to swim, a boat, or anything, and all the houses that were lying on rentals, a lot of mortgages went belly up, foreclosures, businesses shuttered, and so the lake wasn't used in that year. And it was amazing, but in the next year, the lake kind of healed itself because of disuse, and so the septic flow with all the when you have a properly working septic system, still the nutrients of phosphorus and nitrogen go into the lake. That doesn't get eaten up by the biology does, but not the nutrients. So, so we face a decline, continued decline of the quality of Lake Candlewood. Now, last year, we had more town beach closures than ever before. And so it's just not getting any better unless we do something. I mean, everybody looks at the lake and say, oh, it's a really nice lake, somebody should be taking care of it. Well, that's us. So, but that's basically, it's the biggest lake in Connecticut. There's high interest to provide the grant monies to assist with it. A 20% grant goes a long way to keep the assessments to a proper level. And so, but the program is basically to preserve the lake for generations to come, so.
So ultimately, a concern would be that the lake could be shut down.
Yeah.
I think that, and I think most people would agree, if the lake became unviable for use, property values would go through the floor,
Right.
and the entire town would suffer.
Oh, that's what happened.
Immensely, I
Yeah,
think.
that's what happened, like a Pacon. They didn't have the tax revenues, people weren't there to pay the taxes. So everybody else had to pitch
Pony
in
up.
to, pony up to be, sponsor the town.
Are
Plus,
there,
they had to spend more money to clean up the lake, you know.
are there other surrounding lake communities that have similar sewage problems, or?
Well, all right. Danbury did do a little sewering in their low-lying areas. New Fairfield, a lot of their properties are way up on a cliff, and the impact from their properties is going to be de minimis. There are some in New Milford, so we could discuss them. We have the one interesting is the Indian Trail area. Half of it's in Brookfield, half's in New Milford. So we'd have to work out a deal because it'd be silly to do half and not the other half. So we have to either capture that into Brookfield or work out some kind of a deal because we can't assess in New Milford. You know?
Yeah, but addressing your concern, this is a 5-town problem.
Right.
It's not just Brookfield. All 5 towns on the lake, particularly New Milford, Danbury, and Brookfield, we have the most houses. We have to address this. We've talked about this for 30 years, but it does need to be addressed, or the
Yeah.
lake could die.
I just would hate to be the only ones after it at the price of 30 million when the other towns aren't addressing.
Well, they're all going to have to pay the same kind of price
Yeah,
per house to fix the problem.
Right.
But we have the highest density, right, on the lake in that peninsula. And I saw the opportunity, and so you're right, the state said, well, but what about the other towns in the lake? And they said, well, Brookfield's a big part. Oh, we'll just start with Brookfield. It's okay. So they were happy with that. So if we start with Brookfield and we have really success, then they're going to look carefully at the other towns, and they're going to look carefully too. So.
Okay.
So basically, it's an environmental health and safety issue, but the some of our greatest fans are the Candlewood Lake Authority. So they got a lot of scientists, and they were heavily involved in the study, as well as First Light, the owner of the lake. They're very keenly interested. So, so we have friends in good places.
Nelson, if this isn't a 5-town endeavor, is it going to be effective for us to do a sewer system if there are other towns that are not? Or how is that going to work as far as, once we spend this money and get everything done, how effective is it going to be on the lake if all of the towns don't do it?
It appears as if the biggest contribution, maybe half of the nutrients going into the lake, are from Brookfield. So it would have a pretty significant impact. And then it would be the state or the 5 towns themselves getting together and saying, yeah, we need to do more. But there'll be a noticeable positive impact on the lake when Brookfield Peninsula gets sewered.
Remember, each of the property owners will be assessed and will pay for their portion of it. This is just to do the study and the design.
Right.
And then we would, like we have along Federal Road, just assess each property owner. So we would get the money back. We'd front it, and then the town would get the money back.
Right.
And anything you can do, I agree with Nelson, if we're 30% of the houses, you're eliminating 30% of the problem.
Yeah.
Even if other towns are not
That-
moving as quickly as we are.
That's like the same program we're doing over at Huckleberry with the sewers, where
Yes.
fronting the money and assessing.
Yes, on the water line going up the
Right.
Huckleberry, correct.
So not to belabor this, but potentially that same pipe would be carried all the way up Candlewood Lake Road,
Yep.
and then
Yeah.
we would have to create some kind of a plant in that area, or
Well,
does it go
depends
straight
on
to
whether
the
we would get
tube?
service from Danbury, we'd have to put in pumps, right? You want to sewer, correct me if I'm wrong, Nelson, the entire watershed going down into the lake, so Mistle Drive, Main Drive,
Right.
all of Vista, all of those that are on the hill
Mhm.
coming down as well as Candlewood Shores. But Nelson has laid out 4 or 5 options, pump to Bethel, pump to Milford, pump to Danbury, or build our own facility. Building our own facility would be expensive,
Mhm.
and we'd have to run a pipe to wherever that is.
Yeah,
Right.
it's actually, Danbury wants a lot of money, so it's,
Yeah.
the Brookfield option is almost on par with them.
Mhm.
We'd be self-determined, it's just a matter, well, we'll look at the numbers real carefully.
Okay,
And, but the Danbury option is the quickest, the best, first choice if we can get it. And then the pipe would go up to the new school, and there's already a pipe going down from there into our final pump station and then out. So, anyway, that's all in the plan, that if we need, as part of the study, diverted the Candlewood flow to somewhere else,
Mhm.
maybe in the north of town, then, you just run the pipe a different way,
sure.
so.
And I do have a final question. The capacity that Bethel and New Milford can withstand if we were to deliver that in that direction, do you know those
Okay,
numbers?
well, in New Milford has about a 2 million gallon a day plant, and they're using less than half. And they were required by the state to build it a lot bigger than they really needed for some reason. I can't remember why, but they put the hammer down on them, and so they had to pay for a much bigger plant than they can really afford. So they actually should be interested in taking flow from us, but it's still, we gotta somehow figure out how to get it from point A to point B.
Mhm.
And then, that's the New Milford option. Our option would be, we just gotta figure out what the costs are, but there are, pre-engineered, pre-packaged plants that are relatively small that you could plop in the north end of town and deal with it. So, and these are done all over America, so it's not something we would pioneer, let's say.
Okay. Thank you.
Very well.
Appreciate all the
Thank you, Nels.
information. It's a lot to digest right there. No pun intended. Moving on to the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as written.
Second.
I'll second that.
Thanks. All in favor?
Any discussion?
Oh, is there any discussion?
No.
Does everyone agree of the items
Yes.
of the
All in
consent
favor?
agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. On to our monthly regular agenda items. Our vaccine clinics are continuing right here in Town Hall Tuesdays and Thursdays. In fact, I think they've been very busy with boosters, with the Omicron and so forth. We will continue the coffee with the community. I am unavailable on the 18th, but Harry will be
Yeah,
there.
I don't know. I'll have
Okay.
to check my calendar.
Sorry, I didn't
I'll try
get
to-
with you today to ask you
That's
on
all
that
right.
one,
No,
Steve.
that's all right.
It's 10:30 at Chester's.
Right, 10:30 at Jester's on the 18th. I'm sorry, it says on here it's at 9.
It's usually
9 to
9 to
10:30.
It's usually 9 to 10:30.
Okay. But I look forward to,
Tuesday, you're not gonna be available?
So
On
questions
the
are not allowed
18th?
from the
Yeah.
audience.
yeah, sorry, questions are not allowed from the audience.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I will not be at the coffee on December 18th. Item Bravo, the correspondence. All three of us received correspondence from FERC regarding the Iroquois gas transmission system update. And this correspondence is included in the packet and online with an attachment. But I did have a meeting with Iroquois Gas this morning, which was also very valuable for me on my first day in the job. So the representatives came across and they've been working and representing town for a number of years now. And the bottom line is that FERC is actually, well, not actually, but they are following the process that they're continuing their environmental studies. And their staff that's conducting these studies is reporting that there's absolutely no adverse impacts. And as they follow all of their mitigation efforts, there will be no, their evaluation is that there will be no environmental impacts. However, Iroquois has received a new commissioner, and right now that individual is studying up on all of the information as it pertains to the Brookfield site, and until he conducts a full environmental review himself, there won't be any further update coming out of Iroquois until the January-February timeframe. That's 2022. So just to rehash the timeline that I went over with them this morning, the permits will come out in January of 2022, and then it will move to the national permitting level in January of 2023, so that's a year from now. And then there will be all kinds of engineering and development plans that have to be set, and the goal is for them to start the construction of their new facility on our compound here in Brookfield in April of 2024, with completion being done by the end of 2024. So right now, it looks like all things are a go if they continue to get the permitting and all environmental requirements are hashed out. So that's just an update on that. Regarding the ARPA Ad Hoc Committee, they actually have a meeting happening simultaneously with ours tonight upstairs, I believe. But I did receive an update from Colette Sturm, who's the chair, and ARPA is going to continue to have their meetings on the first Monday and third Thursday of every month. They've currently received 23 proposals from town departments, commissions, organizations, and residents. And they are using their established criteria in order to review everything by the end of this month, then at which point they'll spend January developing their list of recommendations to come to the Board of Selectmen in February. They sent out a survey to the community to assess community input. They had 272 responses. There's a lot of good information in here as well. I'm just trying to give you a summary that Colette provided. Oh, and they also had the public forum that was held on November 17th, and over 40 people were in attendance of that meeting. And that's pretty much the summary that was provided from the ARPA committee.
Thank you.
Either of you have anything to add to that update? No.
No, thank you.
Great. Over to Marcia for the financial update.
We have 3 open years, and in the order of priority on reporting, we're working on 2021, the financial statements. We prepare them internally. We want to get them to the Board of Finance this month because they're due December 31st. So they are completed except for one number that we're still waiting for, but they should be good enough for the auditors to review and be ready just to make that one change in the numbers. We're also working on 2023. The Board of Finance has asked us to do a quick synopsis of where we might be next year if we only have changes that we know of. We do this every year before we start the budget process. So that we'll be discussing with the Board of Finance on Wednesday night. The 2022, right now, on the budget versus actual, that we are in good shape as far as revenues, that there's no surprises of revenues not coming in that we expected or not coming in at the timing we expected. And our expenditures are also in good shape. We've got some places where we'll be under budget, and they're offset by places that will be over budget. So as soon as Tara gets her feet on the ground on maybe her 3rd day, we'll go over that. But there's nothing that I'm losing sleep about at this time.
Just one question on the audit. We're in place to have it done, completed with no documentation showing any weaknesses by the end of December, right?
We are. We had an inventory of capital assets done during the year. We had our senior accountant spent 2 weeks just pulling together the capital assets from all the different schedules to make sure we've got the best possible list that we've ever had. And We're waiting, that we have a company that, the appraisal company that helped us with the inventory. We are waiting for them. They want to review every item that we made adjustments to, and there are over 1,000 of them. So it's taking them a little bit of time. But once that's done, depreciation can be calculated, and that's the final number. Unless the auditors don't have time to do it, it's not going to be slowed down from us.
Oh, great, thank you.
Thank you, Marcia.
Anything else, Marcia?
That's it.
Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Moving on to 5 Alpha, under new items. I'd like to make a motion that the selectmen approve the updated investment policy statement as recommended by the RBAC.
I will second that.
Thank you. This, these are very minor clarifications in the policy. It's changed every 5 years now versus 1 year. There was a little bit of verbiage that was changed, and then an Excel spreadsheet was added instead of a Word document. So those were the 3 minor changes as it pertains to that document. Any questions on that?
No, I think it's a very good document. It's clear, it's understandable for anyone. So I think they did a really good job on it. Just clarifying small things
Yeah.
to bring it up to date.
I think there's a lot of that needs to happen, which is why I'm moving with a
Right.
charter revision as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm also that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5 Bravo. The next motion I'd like to make is that the Board of Selectmen approve the $10,600 allocation that's dispersed to the agencies on the list of, for the Senior and Social Services Director. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
I'd just like to go over these agencies that we're going to be donating the $10,600 to, and they all do tremendous work for the community. It's Hospice, Ability Beyond, the Women's Center of Danbury, which is renamed just the center now, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Brookfield Cares, We Care, and Ann's Place. So that money is being divvied out, and that's awesome, especially at this time of the year. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to Charlie. I'd like to make a motion that the selectmen approve the first selectman and the treasurer to sign the various resolutions and documents needed to transfer the authorized signature cards on accounts from Stephen C. Dunn to Tara Carr. This includes Union Savings Bank, Newtown Savings Bank, Empower Mass Mutual, Pension Schwab, OPEB, Wells Fargo, how do I pronounce this one? Widelick Trust, and Allen Financial Credit Card.
I'll
Can I
second
get a
it.
second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
As for Delta, the motion isn't stated, but I'd like to make a motion to table this item to the next Board of Selectmen meeting so that I have the opportunity to discuss this with the town's RBEC before making any
Sure.
decision.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6 Alpha, moving right along. I'd also like to make a motion to table this item.
I would second that motion.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's quite a bit involved in this, actually.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have more information.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to have a chance to have a discussion on it. It's not clear, so. Great, all in favor of tabling the item?
Aye.
Aye. 7 Alpha. I'd like to make a motion that the selectmen reappoint Robert Brown, Ron Jaffe, Betsy McLevine, Jacqueline Salome, and John Van Heist to the committee for a term expiring 11/1/2022.
I'll second that.
Any conversation?
No, I'd just like to thank him, for the work
Yeah.
and everything.
Sure. And they're.
And for volunteering again.
Absolutely. It's a pretty big deal for them to be able to help the craft center and that whole area become a historic center. It's important for Brookfield. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Youth Commission, I'd like to make a motion that the selectmen appoint Benjamin Bourget Yeah, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Vanessa Greenstein and Hyatt Youssef to the Youth Commission as non-voting members for the term of 12/6/2021 to 2/7/2022. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Go ahead, Steve. That's fine.
And again, thank you to these fine young adults who continue to step up for our community. All in favor? Aye.
Do you, oh, okay, sure. Okay.
3-0 on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
7 Charlie. Did you have something you wanted to say on that, Harry?
No, I was, it doesn't really pertain to this, but I know that when I was on the Board of Ed, we had a student representative, and I don't know if we still have a student
It's
representative.
usually the president of the.
Yeah, it was always, you know,
But
very
the Board of
good.
Ed appoints that, I think.
Right, and he or she would act as a liaison, and
Yeah.
it worked out well. Thank
Okay. Thanks. Nice.
7C.
7 Charlie. I'd like to make a motion that the selectmen appoint myself as the Board of Selectmen representative to the Capital Planning Ad Hoc Committee for the 2022-2023 budget year, and that they also reappoint former Board of Finance members Ricky Ramos as the chairman and Ryan Rodenis as members.
Right, I'll second
Can I
that.
get a second? Thank you. Anything to discuss on this
Yeah,
one?
I met with that group, I think it was last week.
Yeah.
And this group is gonna be such a benefit to us as we go forward with the capital issues with the budget, and it's just really gonna put us in a very good position. It was very detailed, it was very open, a lot of discussion. We ended up there for 3 hours. But it's gonna be, Ricky did a great job, he is the chairman. It's gonna be very beneficial to us in helping us.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, this is a committee we formed ahead of the budget season, so they can look at every single capital project in much more depth, and then help us prioritize what the boards want to do. And more information is always better,
Right.
so I agree with that.
Right. Prior to this, you know, Steve would, I mean, basically, we're trying to get, you know, in front of every department and have everybody coming in, and we're trying to do that as well, and mostly Steve. So it's gonna be much easier for Tara to do it this way, and it's much more effective.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and thank you for establishing that, and from what I understand, Ricky is just a tremendous asset.
Yes.
He did good work on the Board of Finance as well, so
Yes,
that's
so
great.
is Ryan. Ryan has been great.
Yeah,
Super.
and Marcia. Marcia was always,
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Delta. I'd like to make a motion that the selectmen appoint Harry Shaker as the Board of Selectmen representative on the Retirement Benefits Advisory Committee for a term of today, 12/6/2021 through 12/4/2023.
I'll second that.
Thank you. This, the paperwork says Steve, and it was oversight on my part that I found earlier this evening, so
That's right.
I'm substituting Harry for this, as we discussed on an earlier item. Anything else on that? All in favor? Aye. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment tonight?
There's one person so far. Andy, is it, who's Andy? Andy, I'm sorry, real Andy.
Yeah.
So we
Andy
did-
Holmes?
Hi, thank you. My name's Andy Kame. I'm at 5 Fernbrook Drive in Brookfield, Connecticut. And I'd like to say welcome to all the new folks here and happy holidays and best wishes to everybody. And unlike most folks, I didn't come to ask you for money. I asked you to, I'm here to ask that maybe at this point in time and change that some review work can be done on the budget to look for areas that can be cut or areas that maybe not as high a priority as were thought of in the past. I've lived in Brookfield a long time. I've lived in Connecticut my whole life, and it just seems to me that there's a great loss of the old-fashioned Yankee frugality that we once had in this state, once had in this town. And I think when you look at inflation and rising taxes and all of the things that are around us, maybe it would behoove us to take a second look at things. There are many examples. This isn't any particular innuendo against any individual, but for example, a 9/11 commission. There's a wonderful 9/11 memorial in New York City. If you've ever had a chance to be there, or haven't, I would suggest you go. There's also one in Pennsylvania and in the Pentagon. I doubt we would be able to ever do as good a job as those. I drove in today, again, no individual against anybody, but there's a wonderful, expensive granite bench sitting out there looking at fake horses. I'm not sure that that's a priority that anybody would vote for over teacher salaries or EMS or fire or police, that type of thing. Another thing you may want to take a look at is, should Brookfield really be in the residential rental property business? Is that a good idea? There's risks and costs there. I don't know that it benefits us. I know there's been expenditures in the past approved by Brookfield for not-for-profit entities. Is that something that we should be doing? Brookfield has many not-for-profit entities, and the whole concept of a not-for-profit is that they can raise their own funds. They can accept donations from the public. They can run events and galas and all sorts of fundraising things. Some might suggest that it's a First Amendment violation, that if you donate to one particular nonprofit over all the other nonprofits, one group is benefited over another. I think that's something that we need to take a look at. That said, I wish everybody the best, and thank you very much.
May I make one clarifying comment?
Absolutely.
The benches that were put in by the horses were donated to the town. They cost the town nothing. The amount of money that we spend donating to various causes has gone down over the last 8 years. I agree with you. I don't think the town should be in the business of donating other people's money. I think people should make that donation themselves. But there are a number of organizations that the town has always worked with in the past, and the criteria was, do they serve our residents? And many of these organizations serve our residents in a very, very meaningful way.
Steve, also with the benches, there was another purpose for the benches. A lot of times when we have events here, people will drive on that grass to park, and the benches are also going to serve as kind of a barrier where people can't go up, because they were coming very close to the horses and stuff. So that was another reason. And then one other thing, I just wanted to publicly take the time to thank Steve for his service as a first selectman and what he's able to do. And I am really excited and looking forward to working with Tara as our first selectman and with Steve. It's going to be a great team, and I'm looking forward to it.
Same sentiment. So we are going to take a moment to recess and conduct our executive session. Because there are so many of you, I think I'm going to ask the board and Mr. Beecher to move to another area.
Just
so we don't
to
have
make a motion? Can we make a
Oh, I'm
motion?
sorry, yeah.
You plan to have a motion after your executive session?
No.
Then you can just have your executive session and say thank you to everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Well, I guess it depends on which way the meeting goes, though, right?
They're gonna have to leave anyway.
Okay.
And if you're not doing anything afterwards,
Yeah.
All
the
right.
meeting's pretty much done.
So we are going to break to have our executive session.
Right.
You're welcome to hang out till we reconvene, or,
Unless there's
Go on.
further does anybody else have further public comment?
I'm sorry, does anybody else have further public comment?
You never know.
I'm sorry?
Is the meeting being adjourned?
Yes.
Yeah.
What? No, I don't think it can be adjourned before.
Well, you're not adjourned, we're going into
Oh.
executive session.
Yeah, and then we have to come back to close the meeting officially,
Yeah.
but.
But that's-
Very good.
like to call the
Wait,
meeting, who
Yep,
are
you're
we
back.
missing?
Okay.
So you call the meeting back to order?
I'd like to call the meeting back to order. We've adjourned our executive session and we're going to adjourn this meeting as well. Thank you all for hearing us out tonight and your attendance. Thank you.
Have a good night.